Let me walk you through how I turn this flat bird portrait into a soft golden edit in Lightroom Classic. We'll achieve this look with a mixture of basic adjustments and a little bit of masking. You can download the raw file below if you want to follow along. Hopping into Lightroom here, first thing I'm going to do is crop this image, and I'll go vertical for Instagram. I'm going to get nice and tight here, and I'm going to put my subject's eye right on this intersection right here. That looks perfect. Next, I'm going to head over to Profile, and if you didn't already know this, Lightroom automatically will throw this Adobe Color profile on your images. I think it's best to choose Camera Standard because this is what it's going to actually look like on the back of your camera. Next thing I'm going to do is I want the background of the image to be a little bit more golden. So I'm going to work to get rid of these greens. I'll do that by going to Color Mixer. I'll go to Point Color, and I'll select this green right here. And I'm going to push it towards the left side. And as I push it, you'll see that green kind of go away. I'll actually go all the way to the left. And then what else I can do is push the variance all the way down, and that's going to kind of even out the background. But you can still see there's a little bit of green in the background. So I'll go to Color Mixer, and then I'll go to Hue. I'll try to do my best of getting rid of all the green and getting just a really nice golden background. I'll pop over to Saturation. One thing I'm noticing right now as well, the tree looks very blue to me. So what we can do is go on blue, and we can drag this down a bit, and that looks a lot better to me. I think I'm also going to make the background just a little less saturated, so I'll drag down the orange and the yellow. I'll also make it just a little darker because we want our subject to be popping out from this background. We don't want our subject to get lost. Okay, this is good. I'm going to pop over to my tone curve now. And basically what you can do with tone curve is it's like adding contrast to your image, except for you get to choose where that contrast is added instead of the contrast just being added everywhere, like if you do so up here. So personally, what I like to go for with a lot of my images is I'll drag the shadows down, I'll bump the highlights up a little bit, and then I'm going to raise the absolute blacks, and I'll bump my absolute whites down. Now I'm going to head over to my tone panel, and I'm going to play with these highlights. I'm going to drag them down a little bit. I'm also going to drag my shadows down a little bit, and you can see it's making the image a little darker, but that's okay because we will fix that with masking. Okay, that is looking really good. I think I want to add a little bit of contrast and maybe raise the exposure just a tad for now. I'll also bump up the texture and the clarity just a little bit, not too much. And I don't know if you can see this or not, but my image is a little noisy. I did shoot it at 2500 ISO. So one thing that we should do is denoise the image. So I'll come down and I'll check denoise, wait for it to load. Once it loads, I'm just going to zoom in so I can adjust this slider and see how much of this denoise I need. Once it gets a little too soft, then I'm going to move it back over to the left. If it's a little too noisy, I'm going to slide it back over to the right. It's all about trying to find that happy medium. For this image, I'm liking 35. Now to show you the secret sauce, we're going to add a couple of masks, and this image is going to be looking really good. First thing I want to do is select our subject and make a couple enhancements. So what I'll do is go select subject, and you can see it didn't do a very great job, so let's actually undo that. Let's go select object, and we'll paint right over the bird, and it should pick them up pretty well. Okay, it did a pretty good job, but it's still missing a little bit, so we'll just brush that in ourselves and we'll be good to go here. Now that we have our entire subject selected, I want to try to increase these details. So what I'll do is increase the texture, increase the clarity, and I'm also going to bump up the sharpness. And it makes them a little dark when I do all those adjustments, so I'm going to be really careful and bump up the exposure and the shadows just slightly. Next order of business for me is going to be adding a little bit of light coming from the top right of this image. So I'll add a really big radial gradient. I'll put it off to the side. And to get this really dreamy, glowy effect, just increase the exposure, the temperature, and if I decrease the dehaze, it should give us this really nice, soft looking light. Okay, and I like that. But this light is hitting our subject and it's a little too harsh. What we can do is duplicate our brush and our object and slide them over to our new mask, and then right click on both of them and convert them to subtract, and that will remove the subject from the light. So as you can see, if I show the mask, all of this red is the light that we just added and it's not hitting our subject. We just added some light coming from the right side of the image, so let's grab a linear gradient and let's make the left side a little darker. And I'll keep it very simple and basic here. I'm just gonna drag the exposure down. Okay, I like that a lot. Let's make it a little bit more exaggerated. Good. Okay, I think I want even a little bit more light coming from this right side, so I'm gonna add another radial gradient. And I'm gonna make it real nice and big again. And add that light coming. I'm really just trying to exaggerate this really beautiful golden looking light. And I really like how that is looking for me. One thing that's bothering me right now is these tones in the background don't all quite line up. So what we can do is head over to our very first subject mask. We can hit these three dots, go duplicate and invert. That's going to give us a mask of the background. We'll head over to point color, select one of these golden tones, and like we did earlier, we're going to slide the variance all the way to the left to kind of even out the background and make it all look more like the same color. And that's going to give it this really nice look and polish. Now I do this with most of my edits, but I'll do it again here. I'm going to make a small brush and I'm going to paint a little bit of light on my subject's eye. It always seems to help with wildlife photography, just making your subject seem even just a little bit more alive. Now just for a couple tiny tweaks, I'm gonna head back over to our global adjustments. I think I wanna add a little bit of warmth into the image, so I'm gonna touch this just slightly. And I'm also going to drag the tint slider a little bit to the left, but I'll be really careful that I don't make this look too green. I'm gonna head over to my blue primary and I'm going to drag the hue to the right, and I just really like the effect that that's having on the background for me. Leave me a comment below if you thought this was helpful. I've got more step-by-step wildlife edits coming weekly, so subscribe if you enjoy these. Appreciate you being here.